Hello, everybody. Weeb here, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload podcast, episode 37. Yeah, we are already 37 episodes in. Every time I look at the number, just how it keeps growing, I am just amazed that we've gotten this far, and just knowing that, but before we know it, we will be at like the year anniversary. It's just one of those things to think about. It's crazy.
hmm
Um, it's just nuts when you see like how fast time goes by. I don't know. I was like looking at that in my life at some other stuff. They're like, oh, time's been passing really quick, and like it's been months since like this happened and that happened, and it's just crazy. Time flies by. It's super nuts, but in a way, it's a good thing though. I see it as a good thing. It's kind of nice to see time progress. I think it would kind of suck if stuff was always the same and we were kind of stuck in a loop or like things weren't changing. So I don't know. I welcome changes, and time passing,
Yeah.
honestly. But yeah, on that note, welcome to the podcast. The Legend of Jonathan is here, of course, my co-host. How are you doing, Legend of Jonathan?
I'm doing great. How about you, sir?
I am doing pretty good, I would say. And yeah, I know we have a few things to talk about. Some pretty exciting things. One of the things is right around the corner, which is really cool. And then the
hmm
thing at the very end, I'm pretty excited to talk about that because I think it's something very cool that I really want to tell
hmm
people about. So I'm excited. So with that being said, if you are ready, how about we give people our weeks? I know you have some something you want to talk about. You've been
hmm
passionate about these last couple weeks, so go ahead, I guess.
Once again, guys, we're gonna be talking about Pikmin.
No way.
No way. One at first it was Ursa, and now it's Pikmin.
Right? Those are like your two main loves, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I love aliens, guys. Um, I don't know if like first off, I think I'm gonna like start this off. I progressed the game quite a lot since the last time we talked. I don't know if the last time on the podcast I mentioned this. I think it might have been in a Tears of the Kingdom playthrough. I'm not sure if I've ever talked about it here on the podcast. But I finally did unlock the night expeditions, and they're pretty cool. Um, it's pretty cool like encountering the little glow Pikmin. That's a thing that I think is pretty cool. And then the night expeditions are pretty stressful. That's something that like I've noticed a lot of people were complaining, saying that like the game was too easy and stuff. I feel like the night expeditions are not that easy. They're pretty like stressful and hard, especially because you kind of have to like strategize of like, hey, how do I do this? Hey, like let's, you guys do this and then you guys do that. And then oh, an enemy showed up. We have to kill the enemy quick, guys.
I guess just real
And
quick for
then
people who don't know what the night expeditions are, what do
okay,
you
that's a
do during the night expeditions?
basically during those night expeditions, you basically protect this little like I don't even know how you would describe it. I would say like an ant hill. Like that's what it kind of looks like. It reminds me more of like an ant hill. You protect this weird little structure thing that kind of looks like, yeah, like an ant hill where it has like different little holes in it, and the glow Pikmin kind of live in it. And basically, the reason why we have to protect it is because um, it has like a cure to some thing which we have encountered throughout this adventure, which is like those weird little leaf people. They're kind of obsessed with like the Dandori and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, And basically, the reason why is because our doctor, like the rescue corp, which is the people us, the player, worked with, the doctor dude, his name's like Yanni. He says he's like, yeah, like I used to have a lot of that medicine, but like so and so, which is like another court member, they drank it, and so like you have to go and like work for it again. Which honestly, like if we had the cure from the start, I feel like we would have been saved. But someone had to drink it, and it's cool because yeah, you do those little night expeditions. At the end, if you survive the whole expedition, you get a giant blob of like green goo, which is like the cure. And
So
using that,
basically, you have to do the expeditions to get enough of this resource that can then be turned to medicine to like help cure people, basically.
mhm, basically,
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, I kind
So
of get
they,
it. Yeah, yeah,
mhm.
yeah, I got you. I
So
got you.
like I said last time, where how we were rescuing like leaf people and regular people that aren't like turned into leaves, like they're just kind of like there.
Mm.
Um, Basically the people who are like leaf people. you do is after you collect like a piece of that medicine thing, you'll see that the moment you arrive back to like the ship area, they'll like cure a person immediately. They'll like get a little shot and they'll give it to them, and then they'll like be healed the next minute.
Nice. Okay, that's pretty cool. Cool, cool, cool.
Hmm. And
And like how many people are there to save, I guess? Like how many times would you
I
have to
don't
like
even know
keep doing
actually.
oh, you don't know yet. Because I was gonna say, because yeah, I would imagine like how many like if each time you do an expedition you get some of that resource, like how much resource gets taken up, like how many people are there to save, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 'cause from what it seems so far, because here's the thing. Remember how last time I had unlocked the third level, but I didn't finish the third level because I was focusing on the second one?
Yeah.
I 100% of the first level, I have 100% of the second level, I have 100% of the third level, and now I'm on to the fourth level, which I am going to talk about right now. But we're talking about this thing.
Yeah.
Basically each level, the night expeditions has three different expeditions, it's three different nights.
Yeah.
And so basically, I guess like if I know that there's supposedly like five or six levels because the fifth and sixth ones are like post game. That means that like you would have to times three by like six. So you would be getting like 18, I guess, around there. You know
Got
what
you,
I
got
mean?
you. I got you.
Hmm.
So for each
And
expedition you do, if you do it successfully, that saves somebody basically.
hmm
Okay, got you, got you. Okay. Huh.
and then
Oh, but what
yeah,
makes
it's
it so
pretty.
stressful? You were saying is like you say you have to like protect the little hives because if I remember from like the trailer, the enemies that go crazy at night is that what makes it hard or something?
Yes, that, and then like they'll like swarm up on you. Like it's not even just one enemy shows up and that's it. Like literally, you can see from miles away. You'll see an enemy walking, and you'll see like 10 other enemies behind it,
Dang. So it's like
and
a
then like
hard mode
10
you feel
before
so
that.
far.
Hmm.
And what are
And
people
then what
online
makes
saying? Because I know you said a lot of people were saying that it was like too easy. Are people saying that like, oh, this is like a challenge? Do they still find it too easy? Do they find it too hard? Like, have you seen what other people think about this night mode thing?
that I haven't seen, but it seems like based off the fact that people complained about the overall game being like I said, too easy. I feel like maybe not that many people struggled with it, to be honest. I feel like maybe a lot of people got a hang of it more quicker because the fact that
Mm,
like, especially some gameplay videos I've seen where people are doing them, they're doing it pretty like
easily.
efficiently. They don't, yeah, they're not losing their Pikmin. They kind of like split the jobs pretty good.
But for you,
It's
you're
just
having trouble.
because it's like, okay, guys, like let's gather up more glow Pikmin because the way it works is there's these little like star bit things that you'll find across the level, and you have to grab those little star bit things and take them immediately back to that little hive thing, and it makes more glow Pikmin. And basically, the problem is that you only have like maybe like 5 minutes to gather up glow Pikmin. Because literally,
Dang.
as like the 5 minutes are seeping in, you'll hear like the music start getting louder and getting all crazy, and that's how you know like the enemies are awake. And then like that doctor dude, he'll even tell you, he even says he's like, "Uh-oh, the enemies are awake now," or something like that. And I'm like, "Ah, crap."
That's funny. Huh. Interesting.
Um, and then the fourth level, it's pretty. Oh, right. I did forget something actually. I'm going to mention it too. Ochi, I've mentioned it before how I love him and everything.
Little dog,
But what,
yeah. Little
yeah,
dog
but by the
companion,
second,
yeah.
by the second level, you gain this thing where you can give him commands to protect like a hive because for some reason in some stages, for some reason there's like two hives instead of one. And so as you can tell, that's kind of where it gets more difficult because basically Ochi has to protect one hive and then you have to protect another one. But then the problem is his defense, his AI is kind of like crappy because I didn't like train him certain things. But then at the fact that like the enemies kind of attack him more and kind of like bring down his health more. So it's like this really weird thing where it's like it recommends like you play as like Ochi, but then you switch back to like your main character and then you switch back to Ochi again.
Mm.
It's like you think that like you send him over there you would think he's not gonna struggle, but it's like his AI struggles trying to fight the enemies like one by one. So it's like you have to send your
Yeah, so
you have to switch to
it's better to play as him than like rely on the AI to control him, basically.
exactly, yeah, like it's better to send him over there, maybe like have him be in control for a bit But then like the moment you see like the little thing that says, oh, he's like messing up, I feel like that's the moment where it's like, yeah, no, we have to like switch immediately. Cause if not, he's gonna like die and stuff.
Yeah,
And
that sounds
like
familiar to me. Like I don't remember what is the game. I know I've played a game like that.
it
Like
sounds
I
familiar too, huh?
Yeah, I cannot off the top of my head think of what it is right now, but I know I've played stuff like that. Or like, yeah, you can like literally let the AI control, the other character, whatever it is. But it's like you don't want to leave it for too long. You want to be jumping back and forth. Like, okay, I'm over here. I'm doing all this stuff and blah blah blah. And let me jump over here and take control because, like, I feel like I've played something like that. I get the feeling. I can almost like imagine
Hmm.
it because like, I remember playing something that's like that. Unfortunately, I can't remember what right now, but I know I've played something similar where it's like like almost like a resource management or like a strategy thing where it's like, okay, I'm gonna use this
Yeah.
person for a while. I'm gonna do all. Oh, you know what it is? I know it's
Hmm.
something kind of familiar. Um, like the I don't remember what the whole overall genre is called, but like the Hyrule Warriors.
Hmm. Oh, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what those games are called. Like the overall like genre they're supposed to be a part of. It's like a bigger like a part of that bigger series. But
Hmm.
that kind of reminds me of that, yes, where it's like, okay, there's three areas you need to like, take back from the enemy. So first I'm playing as Link and I'm like in area one, and sure you could let, you know, Impa head to like area two to take care of that, but you don't want to like just let, the
Yeah, the
computer,
control.
the AI control it the whole time. You do want to be like, okay, now that I've cleared this area as Link, let me switch to Impa, let me take control, beat the little boss here, clear this area, and then okay, now I'm gonna jump to like area three where Zelda is or whatever. And then you want to be like
Hmm.
jumping back and forth. Like you don't want to just leave the AI because like the AI maybe doesn't progress as much or maybe it's just kind of sitting there. So it's like, okay, I need to take control so I can clear out the area again, then come back, That's what I'm thinking of. Like those types of games, you have to like really
Hmm.
be like jumping back and forth. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And yeah, those night expeditions, they're pretty cool. Playing as Ochi's pretty cool too. I just feel like his whole role, because he's supposed to be like biting and he's supposed to be like doing all the other stuff like the jump and like the rush move and all that other stuff. I feel like him, when you kind of think about when you have like Pikmin with him, he feels like a more simplified version of your character, because basically like you'll try to use like the little X button, which is just kind of like a special move, and it will just be him. He'll just use his moves basically.
That's funny.
And your character on the other hand, you'll gather the Pikmin. You can like kind of like send them as a swarm to kill something really quick. But him, he doesn't have that ability basically. So it kind of sucks for like it's like you kind of have to hope that like he uses his moves and he somehow works well using the moves. Because if not, like yeah, it feels kind of screwed over where like you can like swarm an enemy and stop them quickly, but then Ochi's kind of like, oh, I have to like rely on his strength and hope that like the Pikmin are on top of the enemy and like kill them quick, and all that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Everything's supposed to have like its pros and cons. That would take more balanced or whatever. So you're not just using one character or just the other. I guess.
Hmm.
All right, cool, cool,
Um,
cool.
yeah, and then I got to the fourth area. The fourth area, um, it's pretty cool because it's like a giant house, which we did see in the trailers.
Oh, nice.
Um,
That's where you go in the house. Cool, cool, cool.
yeah, and that's gonna be like the last main story area. And yeah, by the time you arrive here, that's when like the plot starts to sink in. But I am not going to talk about the plot, obviously, because that's spoiling.
I guess not. I'll really
Like the
ask
more
you.
important stuff.
Does the plot build off of the other three games?
That's where it gets kind of confusing because I think it kind of doesn't. Like the way they kind of imply it, it feels like it's like a retcon.
Oh, weird. Okay, then yeah, just leave it
So
like that
that's
for now. I guess. Yeah. Okay.
so
Okay.
we'll
We
just
can.
like we'll do yeah.
Yeah. When
Hmm.
you finish the whole game, you can talk about like nice spoilers of everything. But okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
that's what I was
Weird.
thinking too.
But that
But
means that
basically,
you're probably at this point maybe like three-fourths of the way through the game or something,
hmm
right? Because you
basically,
said
yeah.
you're like in the last big area, and there's like a little bit of like post-game cleanup or whatever. So, all
Yeah,
right.
and the
Cool. Cool.
post
Cool.
game is like the final boss and all that stuff, yeah.
Huh.
Um, what's cool is that yeah, basically it's a giant house. But what's crazy is that, that green dog that we talked about, Moss or whatever the name of the dog's called.
Hmm.
Um, what's crazy is that in this level, because like I guess this is where she kind of lives or something. We don't really know why, you know. Um, you're roaming around the house and she's kind of like a security for some reason. So like you have to like be careful because if not, if she like detects you, she gets kind of excited and then you hear dun, 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 like the little horn and like she'll try to attack you and stuff.
Oh, so that
So it's
makes
like
it kind of hard. You have to be like dealing with that
mhm.
too. Gotcha.
So
That's
it's like
cool.
it's like a game of you trying to be like, hey, let's grab the stuff, put in the onion, let's grab the stuff, put in like the spade, the shuttle, let's grab some stuff and this and that. Oh my God, she detected us. Let's go attack her then. You know, let's kill her for like a bit. And then it's like, yeah, it's just basically that. But yeah, it's been pretty fun because up to this point, yeah, I've gone through like three, almost four areas. Um, I've saved a bunch of people. I've done this. I've gotten all the Pikmin by this point, actually. I got the purple and white Pikmin last. I got the flying ones and the rock ones last. And
Nice.
yeah, you
So
know, it's been pretty
all
cool.
previous Pikmin do make an appearance then.
Yep, every single one of them. Yeah.
Nice. That's really cool.
hmm And yeah, I've been enjoying it.
Well, there you go. That's pretty cool that you've, stuck to it. You've gotten, you've played at your own pace. I remember rushing through it. You've been enjoying it. And it sounds like I said you're maybe like, I don't know, three-fourths of the way or something like that, maybe, because you have like one big
hmm
area and like some post game, which I would imagine isn't too long. I would watching the post games like longer than like the game itself. Like, never
I
mind.
wouldn't be surprised because Pikmin 2's post game was really long. Like literally the fact that like I was kind of like I kind of had to like rush to three immediately because two would have taken like a long period of time. Like yeah, like I hope this post game's not that long compared to like how do you call it Pikmin 2. But like, you know, so far it's been pretty like it seems like it might be long, unfortunately though.
Well, we'll see. Maybe you're not like three-fourths of the way of the game then. Maybe it's
Yeah,
more.
hopefully not. Hopefully not. But you know what I mean?
But either way, at least
Um,
you're enjoying it. That's what matters. You're having fun. You're going at your own pace and stuff, and that's pretty cool. Then it's good that you're enjoying it, and yeah,
mhm.
hopefully you wrap it up sometime soon, so you can maybe get to some of that story stuff. I'm
But
kind of curious that you said that it seems like the story's a little strange. I kind of want to hear about that. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, it's very weird. So I'm like, yo, like where is this going, you know? And yeah, you know, that's pretty much what I did because there's something else I did, but honestly it's kind of connected to our topic.
Oh
And
yeah, I
so
got you.
I
Yeah,
will so I'll leave it at that.
yeah. Okay,
And
cool.
yeah,
All right, cool. Sounds good. So we're just real quick. You haven't checked out the Evangelion movies yet? Not yet.
nope, nope.
Okay, that's fine. There's still time. Just your own
Yeah.
pace. Once again, cool. Just wondering. Cool. Cool then. Going over to my week, I watched a couple of things. And I did something, like you said, we're saving it to the end. But I watched a couple of things. It's funny because they're like so different. The first one is super wholesome, or it's more like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like more, I guess, wholesome. It's more like, yeah, and then the other one's like super hardcore. I don't know. It's kind of funny to think about. The first thing I did is that I've said that, okay, I introduced a few anime that I watched. And then after that, I said, okay, now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch some that I've heard some people talking about. They're supposed to be kind of good. That's why last week or whatever I talked about Dark Gathering, which I thought was a pretty good horror anime. And another
hmm
one that I had heard about, it's funny because I had seen this anime like, when I was first browsing for like the season. I saw like the picture, I saw the description, but the synopsis sounded really sappy to me, which I'll explain in a moment. But then when I saw that people were like, it has like a pretty high score, people were talking about really liking it, it's really good, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, there's got to be a reason that people are talking about it. I guess I'll check it out. And I'm glad I did because it actually is pretty good. So the anime that I'm talking about, it's called My Happy Marriage. In Japanese, I was
Oh,
just trying to say it just in case. Watashi no shiawase na kekkon. Yeah, there you go. And basically, the reason I thought it was sappy is because if you read the synopsis, it just sounds like really over the top, where it's like, oh, there's this girl that, her mom dies and her father, marries like a different woman and has like a child with her. And so this girl gets treated like a servant. Her life's miserable. She's treated like dirt, blah, blah, blah. But then she gets like, an arranged marriage to this guy. He seems like he's really mean, but surprise, he's not. And her future is gonna be filled with like everlasting happiness. And when you read like especially that last part, it just sounds really sappy. Like it's okay, like okay, so you're trying to be like it's like Cinderella, where like, ooh, she met this guy and it solved all her problems. Huh? Like it sounds kind of like sappy, kind of silly.
Yeah, it sounds weird.
Like, ooh, the guy, he's perfect, I guess. Ooh, and it sounds like silly, right? It sounds kind of sappy.
Hmm.
But the thing is, if you watch it, it's actually really well done. I watched the first 5 episodes as a recording. That's how many episodes have come out, and it's actually really good. Like yes, it feels like a Cinderella sort of thing. Um, but like I guess it was gonna be like, oh, as soon as she gets married, like it solves all her problems. But no, it doesn't. It's really crazy. Like basically our main character, her name is and what makes it interesting too, which I'm gonna get into because there's some things. So the main character, her name is Mayo Saimori, and I think her name's Mayo. I think that's how you say it, Mayo. And basically
Hmm.
it's Mayo and her, I guess it's a half sister is Kaya, and Kaya is like this girl that she's always, spoiled, and she is the favorite, and she gets to like go to school, and she gets all the fancy clothes and stuff. She gets whatever she wants. And meanwhile, Mayo, because her mom died and like the stepmom came in, she's treated like a servant, and she's like really abused like a lot. Like it's really sad. And like the dad doesn't stand up for her at all. And so it really
Yeah.
sucks that basically when you see that it starts, this guy who's like, I guess like a childhood friend of the two girls, he's like the only one that's ever really showed her kindness. And he says like, oh, like he would like to help her out or whatever, blah, blah. And then like where it gets miserable is that it's I don't want to really call it spoilers. It's like really near the beginning. He ends up getting engaged to her sister. And so
Damn.
that's where she feels even more miserable. And like the same day that she finds out that this guy she was kind of interested in, like, oh, he's gonna get married, he's engaged to your sister. It's like, yeah, we're sending you away to this uh guy who's like a military captain, and like all his fiancés have like run away from him because it's like a rumor he's like really cruel or whatever. And so you're like, damn, this girl just like could not catch a break. It's like really sad. But then, when she moves in with this household, first like the guy is kind of mean, but you can tell that it's because he's kind of like has his guard up. You can tell like he is like a nice person deep down, and it's really interesting like the way they do it. Where yeah, he's kind of mean, he's kind of rough, but at the same time, the reason he's kind of rough is because he's used to all the fiancés that they try to arrange for him. They're all kind of like, for lack of a better term, they're kind of like gold diggers. Like they all just want his
Mm.
money, they want his fame, they want to like live like, oh, because the point is, even though she's from a good family, like all these other girls act like her sister, where they're like they want to be spoiled. But then he
Hmm.
notices that like this girl's supposed to be from like a fancy family, but she's not acting like that. And that's why he kind of starts like she starts like endearing herself to him because he's like she's different. You know what I mean? Like she's not acting like all these other
Yeah.
girls all spoiled. And so he kind of starts like opening up to her. And that's where it becomes really interesting because like okay, you kind of see that like it's based on okay, it's not that he's a dick, it's just that he's used to all these people that kind of want to use him, and they're always like spoiled, but this girl's different. That's why he's opening up to her. And for this girl, she's always been treated so bad that even something simple like the fact that he gives her like nice clothes and doesn't treat her like a servant, like for her, like getting praised for like the food she makes is like a big deal. And so it's kind of
Hmm.
like she starts to like kind of start believing in herself slowly and stuff. So it's kind of nice how like the relationships developing from both sides. And then what makes it interesting too is that in this world that I haven't even mentioned, the whole reason she's treated like dirt in the first place, besides having a whole stepmom, is that in this universe people have like magic abilities.
Damn.
So like the military captain, for instance, it shows that yeah, he can like like use like fire, like elemental magic, and her sister when she was like 3, she had the ability to like sense like demons and like ghosts and stuff, but she can't. And like people have like different abilities. Like that guy who's her friend that ends up engaged to the sister, his family's all about using like telekinesis and stuff. And like so the reason that she was treated like dirt as well is like oh well you don't have any like abilities so
Damn,
like
she's worthless.
yeah, you're useless to us. And so that's the reason they try to marry her off. But then when we find out that like, oh, I'm not gonna go too far, but like the family that she comes from, that's like a valuable asset. And so there becomes like a whole tangle of like, oh, can't believe you're trying to marry her off, but she was supposed to go to this other family because she is useful after all, because of her bloodline. And like it becomes like a whole thing. So it's like a really
Damn,
interesting, intriguing story.
that sounds crazy.
So it's really good. I was like, wow, I can't believe that I almost put this show off because it's not sappy. Because like I think the way it's developing with like the characters, the relationships, the world building, it's really good. It's really interesting, actually. And I'm
Nice.
really enjoying it. I'm actually having a lot of fun watching it. I really can't wait to like watch the rest of it. And yeah, apparently it's really crazy too, because unlike other stuff that's based on like a manga or like a visual novel, I mean a light novel, this is based like on an actual novel, like an actual book, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's
So
crazy.
that's a little bit different. You know what I mean? That's like, okay, it's a little
Hmm.
different. It's based on like an actual book of some sort. So that's cool.
That sounds super
And
cool.
yeah, so far I've watched 5 episodes. It's supposed to be a 12 episode season. We'll have to see how far it goes. Hopefully it does well, that we get the whole story. You know, I would like that.
Hmm.
And yeah, if you want to watch it, it is on Netflix. And luckily, Netflix sometimes does a stupid thing where it's like, you know, here's like the whole thing. Like they put like an episode or two, and then like you have to wait like 6 months for the rest of it. It looks like
Hmm.
this one they are simulcasting or whatever, where like every week a new episode comes out, which is cool.
Nice.
So that's nice. You can actually watch it week by week and enjoy it that way, which is cool. So
That's super cool.
yeah, I like it. I think it's fun. I've heard some people say like, "Oh, it's too like depressing," or like the main character she's boring, blah blah blah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it makes sense that she's all depressed and sad and has no confidence because like that's her background. But the whole point is
Hmm.
that like hopefully as she gets away from her family and like the story progresses and she like finds love and friends, she'll grow as a person. That's the whole point. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
but I'm enjoying it. I think it's really good. So I recommend it. Once again, it is My Happy Marriage, and it's really good. I say go check it out.
Nice.
Yeah. And then as for the other thing I watched, this is like the total opposite. Well, My Happy Marriage is kind of like more wholesome and it's more like uplifting and like romance and stuff. This other one is like total opposite. It's all about craziness and action and vengeance and stuff. But I finally watched because this came out like last year, and I just hadn't watched it. But I finally saw it was like on streaming on Peacock, and so I finally watched it. I finally watched The Northman,
Damn.
and The Northman's really cool. I heard good things about it, and I enjoyed it. It's a weird movie, but it's pretty cool. Basically, it's like this movie where the synopsis is pretty simple. It is a Norse, it's based on Norse mythology. And
Hmm.
basically, it's about a Viking prince that when he's, like a child, he's like 12 or whatever, his dad, who was about to pass the throne onto him, like if you watch like the beginning, it's not really a spoiler. He's even like preparing him to like take the throne. He's like kind of, walking him through the process, like a whole ritual and stuff. Um, his father gets killed by his uncle, and his uncle was trying to kill him as well, but he manages to run away. And so it becomes a thing when he's older, it's prophesized, he has to like kill his uncle. And if you watch it, it says like where he's supposed to do it, how he's supposed to do it, etc. And so it's basically just a revenge story. Like, I need to avenge my father, kill my uncle, liberate my mother who was taken, as like a hostage slash a slave by my uncle, etc. I need to take my vengeance and avenge my father. So pretty simple story. What's cool though is that it's about Vikings, so it's like in that like it's like a historical thing. It's like it has definitely like a certain setting, but it's also pretty cool because since it's based on Norse mythology, it actually has some like supernatural stuff too.
That's
Like
cool.
it's not like super over the top. Like they don't have like like magic necessarily, but there's stuff like prophecies. There's stuff like witches, and there's stuff like, oh, does like Odin intervene to like help the main character? The weapon he's going to use, it's supposed to be like you know magic, that sort of thing. So it has like some like
Hmm.
supernatural stuff thrown into it, but it's just this really cool Viking story about, like I said, vengeance, and avenging his father, and it has like some mythology sprinkled in, and it's really cool. I really liked it. It's really good. It's pretty violent, has a lot of violence, a lot of mature stuff and blood and like nudity and stuff. So for some people, I can see it being a little too much because it
Hmm.
is, kind of graphic and stuff. And it has like a lot of killing, and it has the kind of thing too, where like the main character, he isn't necessarily a good guy. You know what I mean? When a story where it's all about vengeance, sometimes, they take a dark path where it's not like, oh, he's like a good guy. He does a lot of like things that are bad on his quest. So for some people, I know that, like I said, that might like put them off. But I don't know if you like watching stuff that has to do with like Vikings, if you like, revenge stories, if you don't mind like gore and like a questionable, anti-hero or whatever.
Hmm.
I think you'll like it. It's really good. Like it's really well done. Like the acting's really good. It's pretty cool that they talk, in their language, so you have to like have subtitles for a lot of the parts. I like it. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So there you go. I would say check it out. And yeah, it's just one of the things where it's kind of a shame that it did do too good at theaters, but
Yeah.
I think I've heard that it got attention, since then, so yeah,
Hmm.
it's pretty cool. I would say check it out. And yeah, a lot of big actors are in it and stuff too. So I'd say like look it
Hmm.
up.
I know about that. Yeah.
Yeah, then check it out, see if you like it. If it sounds like it's your sort of thing, that's pretty cool. And yeah, it's just so funny though, because another thing I was gonna mention is that it reminds me of the beginning, like the main synopsis talked about it at some point in the past. I know we talked about it, Vinland Saga, which is also like a
Hmm.
whole, you know, it's about Vikings, but this one's like an anime, but it's also about like the son trying to avenge his father, blah blah blah. But it's funny because they're like almost like opposite sides of like the coin or whatever. Because while the Northman is all about like vengeance and killing, and the protagonist doing all these things, and like I said, he's not really like a good guy at the end of the day, and violence leads to more violence, and like revenge leads to revenge, that sort of thing. It's funny because Vinland Saga kind of starts with that idea, but then it kind of is like the opposite, where it becomes more about the whole no one is my enemy, and learning about how to let go of the past, and learning how to like let go of like the vengeance in your heart, and like find like peace with yourself. Well, this is like the total
Hmm.
opposite. So I just think it's kind of funny that like two
Two
very
different
good,
paths.
yeah, two very good Viking stories, but like total opposites, which I think is interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's the two things I watched. Both are pretty good for very different reasons, and I still suggest both, for different reasons. So I would say go check them out.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, cool. So with that out of the way, jumping over to our news stories, we got three news stories that are pretty interesting. I'm really excited to see these unfold, I guess is the best way to say it. The first news story, this one is something that's happening really, really soon. By the time you listen to this, it'll be like right around the corner. But as the title of the article states, Pokemon Presents set for August 8th, featuring 35 minutes of news and updates. So yes, by the time this goes up, this will be right around the corner. I'm excited though, because it's always
Yeah.
it's always
Same.
fun. It's always fun to get Pokemon updates. Especially that's the part I really want to get into, like to like discuss. If you look at the little trailer, whatever you want to call it, they put out a little teaser video. It's interesting because it says, Pokemon Presents, how it's coming out on the 8th. And it says, if you read the description about, 35 minutes of Pokemon news and updates, that sounds cool. But then if you keep watching, it's cool because first it glitches out, and then it leads to like the title being purple and neon before it goes back to like the original, just like Pokemon, white background with like yellow and blue or whatever. So that's what I'm wondering. What could that be hinting at?
Hmm.
So that's what I'm interested in, because stuff that I'm pretty sure they're going to talk about, I'm pretty sure they're going to talk more about the DLC. That sounds like an obvious thing, right? They're probably going to talk about the
Yeah.
DLC. They're
Hmm.
probably going to give updates about the stuff they've always been giving updates about, the mobile games, right? They always seem to have some information about those.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe even a little bit of an update on the Detective Pikachu 2. I could see that,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I can definitely see that. Yeah.
But what about the purple neon
Logo.
logo? What is up with that? Because the idea kind of comes to my mind, although it's kind of weird. The original Detective Pikachu, like the movie, had kind of a neon logo.
That's true. Yeah.
It wasn't purple though, that I remember. It was more like neon, like blue and like yellow.
Oh, and then the logo would glitch too. You would see like the little like when logos they're not working well, and so it sparks, and you see the little sparks come out of the edges.
Yeah. But this is
So
purple though, which is very different. So what could purple
mhm.
be hinting at? Because I know if you combine, red and blue, you do get purple. And then obviously scarlet and, violet. I mean, violet is like purplish. Like once again, if you think about like combining like reddish and bluish, if you want to go that route, because they're kind of, representing red and blue again, it makes purple. But I don't know, because it doesn't seem like Nintendo's gonna do, I mean, Pokemon's gonna do the thing anymore of making like a third title anymore, especially
Mhm.
if they're making like DLC. And like I don't know. I mean, could it be like a hint at Detective Pikachu Part 2? Because remember how there had been hints of like, oh no, it's not happening. Oh no, it is happening. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, what could it be? I'm really curious. Like, what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what would the first thing that comes to your mind, honestly?
Oh, Pokemon Purple version. I'm just,
I said no.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I can see the Detective Pikachu. I don't know if we would ever actually get that pretty soon. I feel like that would probably be more down the line. Um, but either that or like maybe if it is like something involving Skylar and Violet, maybe like the color and the neon might have to do with something involving DLC instead of like a third version. Maybe like the third version has to do with like more purplish stuff
But
and
we've seen
like
the DLC. One is about like a festival, and one is about like a competition, like in some
but you
like
know
ocean tournament. I mean, stadium. So like, you know.
but you know what I mean? Like unless they make another one, which I'm just going off of like different ideas, then maybe there's like a third where it's like, oh yeah, it's just like city environments, like more city environments. I don't know. Um, or something people kept saying for like a while, which I don't really see it because the color scheme. Someone said that there was some rumors that there might be like Unova stuff, Unova like remakes or something involving that. And so
Hmm.
maybe it has to do with like Unova, how Unova's like more modern and whatnot. And I don't know, I'm just going off of different things I'm thinking.
Yeah. I'm just wondering what in the hell it could be, dude. Like, I really, really wonder what it could be because I'm really curious. Because, like, I don't know, it's just so weird. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know. I really don't know. And then it doesn't seem like anyone really knows either. Like, I've tried to see like different, like, ooh, what are people's like different like theories or whatever. And all I've really seen is kind of people saying the same thing, like, oh, maybe it has to do with a Detective Pikachu because that was kind of a neon thing, or like people have also said like maybe some sort of DLC thing, and like I think that's basically it. Like I haven't really seen anything too big. It feels
Hmm.
like people are kind of confused too, honestly. And that's the thing too, like Nintendo, I mean Nintendo, well, it is Nintendo, but like Pokemon never really does, they're really random with the stuff they do.
They really
So
are, dude. They
I don't
really are,
know.
yeah.
So who knows? I mean, luckily it's right around the corner, so at least we don't have to like wait too long. Because it'd be one of those things. If it was like at the end of the year, I would suck because it's like, oh my god, what could it be? And I'm just like sitting here wondering. But it's right around the corner, so before we know it, we'll know. And yeah, I guess we'll just have to like wait and see. Hopefully it's something good. Hopefully it doesn't end up being like a big fat nothing. And the other thing I was gonna say is that I'll try to see if I do like a little reaction and discussion about the video when it comes out. I'll try my best,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Because there's some stuff that I've kind of thought about doing that. But now that we have the podcast, sometimes I just save it to like talk about on the podcast. But if I have time, if I can find the time, I'll see if maybe I end up doing like a little video and doing like my reaction and my thoughts on it. And but like I said, it's on the 8th,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
should
yeah.
be a Tuesday. So it's right around the corner. So that's pretty exciting. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jumping over to our next news story. Speaking of stuff that's also right around the corner, I believe I did talk about this at some point. Once again, I don't think this is something like too new, but it is like an update, which is really cool. And if someone hadn't heard about this before, it's still like a good little like, ooh, if you're barely jumping in. But as the title of the article states, Bomb Rush Cyberfunk for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, and Xbox One launches September 1st. And
Yeah, that's
just
very soon.
to give kind of a little bit of an update because of what it says farther down, it says the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One versions of Bomb Rush Cyberfunk will launch on September 1st, 2 weeks following the Switch and PC version's August 18th release. So that's the part that's pretty cool. That for anyone who may didn't know, whatever. So this game is coming to Switch and PC August 18th, which is pretty soon. And then not too long after that, it's coming to every other system. So that's pretty cool. That's right around the corner. Mm-hmm. And for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, because it might be like, when the hell is Bomb Rush Cyberfunk? I never heard of this before, and maybe you missed it, because I know I've talked about it. There used to be this game back in the day, it's a Sega title called Jet Set Radio. And it's this really cool game where you are part of this like little gang that you're competing with these like, other gangs around the city that you need to do graffiti, basically. So you're like on skates and you're doing all sorts of like tricks and like parkour all over the city, grinding on stuff and like jumping and like platforming and stuff. And you're doing graffiti in certain areas, like predetermined areas. And basically at the same time, you're also running away from like cops and like enemies and stuff. And basically it's about like doing tricks and doing like the graffiti and running away from enemies. And, there's parts too where you're going up against like other gangs. So you're kind of like fighting them either by like beating them like to like do the graffiti first, or like you're kind of trying to like knock them down. There's all sorts of stuff in the game, right? And it's just like this really cool game where it has like a really cool aesthetic, has a lot of different characters, has really good music, etc. And it's just like a fun game where you're just like skating around the city and doing tricks and doing graffiti and stuff. Oh, and then you can customize your own graffiti too, which is really cool. So you can like make your own like cool. You can like make your own like graffiti to like use, which is really cool. And it's just like this really fun game. And basically that came out on the Dreamcast. Then they made this like sequel / like reboot on the Xbox. It was like on the Xbox Marketplace or whatever you call that back then, Xbox Live, I forget what it's called. So there was like this newer version of it that like was like a sequel / like reboot sort of thing. But then since then, as is with a lot of Sega stuff, unfortunately, it's been really dormant. So that's when this studio came along. The studio is called Team Reptile. And basically they said, yeah, we're making this spiritual successor. That's what this game is. That it looks basically like Jet Set Radio, but it just has some changes where you're like on a skateboard and it looks like you're playing as these like androids almost, and like it's different enough where it's like, okay, it's an obvious spiritual successor but still doing like its own thing. And basically, yeah, they for a while it's like, you get to, they've been working on it and it's gonna come out soon. And finally here it is, where, yeah, like I said, it's right around the corner. And it's going to cost $40, which is pretty cool. It's not full price. That's really nice. And I'm excited. I'm hoping to play it on some system when it comes out. I don't really know what I want to play it on yet, but that's really cool. It's really exciting. And I guess what also makes it kind of interesting is that ever since they said this game was going to come out, it hasn't been confirmed quite yet. But part of the leak, when we found out that it showed some footage of like Sonic Frontiers, and it showed, footage of like the remake of Persona 3. And then, after they announced it, there was some footage of Jet Set Radio with the new graphics. So whether that's going to be like a remake or like a port or like a sequel, we don't know. But that's also kind of exciting that, okay, there might even be a new official Sega thing coming out. So that's pretty interesting. So that's cool. So hopefully it'd be nice if we got both. But I guess even if Sega doesn't end up making it, or the version that they make ends up being bad, because sometimes that happens. Studios try to make like a new version, and it just really sucks. At least we have this one, so that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
So whether we have one or two games on the horizon, the fact that this series is gaining attention again, that's the cool part, I guess. So
That is pretty cool.
and like I said, I'm excited. If you've not really heard of the game, I say check out the trailer that's in the description, obviously, of this podcast. Or if you do know about it and you're a fan of Jet Set Radio, same thing. Check out this game, and you'll definitely see what I mean. That it really feels like it feels like a spiritual successor based on everything they've showed us. So that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited, and like I said, it's right around the corner. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And then as for our last news story, this one is interesting because it's one of those things that they've been rumoring forever. We'll see how it goes, but it seems like it's at least a little more real, supposedly, this time. It remains to be seen. But as the title of the article states, rumor, new Nintendo console targeting second half of 2024.
Damn.
So, for years now, almost since the original Switch came out,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
been rumors that they're going to make a Switch Pro. They're going to make a new version of the Switch. Now, well, that fell through, and we saw a thing where they talked about how that did fall through, that it was planned at some point, but they ended up kind of scrapping that. We've also heard for a while now that Switch 2 is coming out soon. It's coming out soon. Switch is at the end of its life cycle. Blah 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 blah. Right? We've heard that for a while as well. And it's one of those things where I guess if you keep guessing, eventually you have to be right, right? Eventually it's true. Nintendo, I guess, does have to kill the Switch eventually. The thing that makes it sound a little more real this time is that if you read the story, it says that apparently development kits have been sent out, apparently. And there's some details supposedly where it says sources suggest that it's going to have an LCD screen instead of an OLED screen to lower cost. And that supposedly, it's going to still use the physical cartridges. And I think there was another thing we had heard a while back where it was this seems to coincide with the fact that the people who make the chips for the system, that they had this new chip coming out, and there's some documents where it looks like Nintendo has a deal with them or whatever. So even though it's still rumors, it does seem like there's evidence stacking up, I guess, more than ever. Yeah. And I guess I was just gonna say, with the rumors stacking up, I mean, with the rumors, they've always been there, but with evidence stacking up, and I guess I say, it makes sense that eventually Switch, every console, they have to eventually move on to a newer version, right? That's just the nature of
That's
consoles.
just common.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess, I mean, it would be kind of cool, I guess, if we finally are moving on to whatever the next system is. If it really is, holiday 2024, that is kind of exciting. I mean, a part of me kind of goes, that would be cool if that really was true,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool. It's supposed to, from what they've said, it's still gonna be, there's gonna be a portable mode, or I mean, it's gonna be a handheld system still, so that's pretty cool. I guess just what I was gonna ask, there's not really much to talk about, it's all speculation. I was gonna ask you two things though, and I'll give my opinion. I was saying, number one, what do you think they'll call it? Slash, I guess, what do you wish they would call it? And number two, what would you like to see from a Switch successor, I guess?
Oh my God, I actually wouldn't know what they should call the next system, actually, because, Nintendo always be coming up with random stuff. Honestly, I've always been one of these people that's kind of been on the whole numbers thing. Since the Switch has been felt so far, compared to other consoles, I've always felt like this kind of has been the perfect console that Nintendo's kind of made up until this point. Honestly, I would be kind of fine with a Switch 2. And if not, name it Switch 2. Name it instead of Switch, name it damn. Name it something else so that it doesn't just feel like they're just oh yeah, it's another Switch. Obviously you can have it portable and home console, but at least give it something else so it's not just awkward where it's yeah guys, it's another Switch. You know what I mean? But at least
Yeah,
make
because
something
what
where
I was about
like,
to say real quick, I was gonna say I could totally see them going like if it's kind of like in the same style as like the DS, where they just kept building off of it and building off of it.
mhm.
If this is something similar where they're just like kind of building, but it's not going to be like totally reshaping things, I could totally see them calling it like the Switch XL or like the new Switch or something.
That's what I could see it being. And then like the new Switch is literally just, oh yeah. They'll be like, oh yeah, like you could play like exclusive games on it, and then
Yeah,
okay.
like I hope that it has a cool name. I hope it's not something silly. You
Yeah,
know,
and then even if it is like a two, like a number two, honestly, even then, like at least make it live up to that name then, because we already know of other consoles where they give them like slightly different names, kind of like PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. At least make it so that like even though Nintendo's never like been about hardware where it's like more powerful, at least make the new games know that those new games can't be played on old hardware and that it's not so similar to the old hardware either. You know what I mean? So it's like PlayStation 2, where PlayStation 2 had like certain graphics and it had like certain disc format, and like you couldn't play those discs on the first one because obviously the console can't process it that well. And
yeah,
at
I got
least
you, I
do
got
something
you.
like that too, like don't just be like, man, here's the Switch 2. Can I play Pikmin 100 on my Nintendo Switch? Let's see, guys. And then somehow I just like whatever. Like it's like at least like do something so that it's like a bit like not a bit different, but make it a bit way more different than the previous one at least.
Yeah, I mean,
And so,
from what I've heard, I think it would be believable if they really are going to use like this chip that I've heard is like rumor they're going to use.
mhm.
Supposedly it will be like a pretty big graphic upgrade.
Okay.
Where it's supposed to be, it'll have like ray tracing and it'll find a way to like
Oh, damn.
supposedly process stuff, supposedly like good frame rate. Like, I've heard some stuff supposedly
That's pretty cool.
where even though it will be this part I'm forgetting because it's been a while since I've heard it, but supposedly what I've heard is that it's a chip that does like a really good job, or even though it doesn't have like all of the stuff under the hood that like a PS5 or like an Xbox Series would have, it supposedly still does like a good job of like still processing stuff and like delivering, I guess is the best way to say it. That's
So
what I've
so
heard,
so we
supposedly.
so we can like basically say that since it's not PS5 or Xbox Series S or X, we can say that at least we can like make it comparison to like maybe PS4 Pro around there, we can say, or
I don't know. I mean, because
or
the
like a
Switch,
bit above, like a
yeah,
tiny bit.
maybe like a bit above that. I don't know because like
That's what I was gonna say, like
The
maybe a
Switch
bit.
already. Well, no, because I was the Switch already runs some stuff that like PS4 and like Xbox One ran, but that's because
Mhm,
they really do like you almost use magic to like really like downscale it, I guess, and stuff. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So I
mhm.
guess you're right. I guess it would be like I guess it's supposed to be like yeah like a PS4 Pro or like like an Xbox like One or whatever. I think it's supposed to be like at that
Above,
level
yeah.
or like a little above that. I guess is what I've heard supposedly.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've just heard supposedly that yeah, like, this chip is supposed to like do like a really good job. Like I said, really like delivering. So we'll see. And honestly, it's one of those things too where like if you notice the difference between like like the new generation of like PlayStation and Xbox versus like the previous one, it wasn't that impressive of a jump, honestly.
It
It was
wasn't. It
mostly
wasn't.
just like
Mhm.
load times and stuff. So if the next console for Nintendo is like at around that level of like PS4 Pro or like Xbox One, that still isn't bad. As long as it's consistent, I still think that's
Mhm.
fine because it's not like the PS5 and like Xbox Series are like blowing us away anyway. Like there's not that much of a noticeable difference anyway.
Mhm.
So I think the best thing Nintendo can do is like, okay, as long as you catch up a bit more and you're just more consistent, where like stuff doesn't feel like like the frame rate's choppy and it feels what I mean. As long as they're like delivering well with what you're doing, I think that's pretty good, honestly.
Honestly, same. Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then other things I would want, I don't know. The Joy Cons are kind of iffy, honestly. I just want like,
Honestly, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, just maybe like some sort of like a better controller, like better Joy Cons. Honestly, like I've never almost used my Joy Cons. I always use like
Pro
uh,
controller.
yeah, like a pro style controller. Honestly, I've
Hmm
like never really used my Joy Cons. So yeah, I just hope for like I guess that's the stuff I hope for. Like, yes, give us better graphics, please. That way, even though I think the Switch does do a very good job, honestly, just
Hmm.
be a little bit more competitive. Give us a bit better stuff, better delivery, better performance. Give us a better you know controller or whatever. And I guess the other thing is, I don't know, just continue with what you started with on Switch. Like, don't just scrap everything. Like, build off of it. So, like, continue with like the Nintendo Online, I guess. Like, don't just drop and start again. Like,
Hmm.
be able to still, play this plus more. More backwards compatibility and stuff. More, I don't know. Just don't just start from scratch. Where it's like for like the first like year again, all you can play is like these new Switch 2 games. Like that would be like so boring. Like, no, please, like build off of what you already have plus more.
Honestly, that's what I would agree with too. Like if they really were to like carry it onto the next system, like it's so easy where if you guys have like the whole catalog from like your previous console and you're supposed to like be like, man, here's all this impressive stuff, just carry it over, honestly. Just like or be like, yeah, we're gonna add this stuff like, I don't know, the first month and it's like a huge library of games, like a huge library from like the previous generation. At least do something like that where it's not awkward, where it's like, man, here's like all the online thing where you pay for it, but then it's like, oh yeah, here's the SNES games, and it's like maybe like 10 games again. Like just bring over what you guys already had, port it immediately to the next thing, and then that's kind of it. People pay like if you guys want to make it more expensive or some weird thing, then I don't know, just go with that, I guess, because it's a
But not too
newer
expensive
thing.
either. Like, don't make it ridiculous
Yeah,
either. That's what I'm
but like
afraid of. I'm afraid they'll be like, what does it cost already? I don't remember anymore. I honestly
like
don't.
60 or
I don't.
120, I think.
Is it that much?
I think if it's like a family deal, I think it's supposed to.
No way. Let me see.
Or maybe I was just
Nintendo
exaggerating because I think it
Online.
was like I saw a high price last time.
Let me see. Hold on. I'm actually really pulling it up because I'm not subscribed to it. I've said, I'll subscribe to it maybe if they add like the next tier where I'm saying like maybe like GameCube and like DS games or whatever.
Okay, so
Because hold on. Nintendo Switch Online individual membership is $20 for one person. Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion is $50. And then for the family, it's 35 for regular Nintendo Switch Online and 80 for the family plus expansion.
damn. So
So it's
I did exaggerate it a lot, but like it was still pretty expensive though
yeah, 80 is quite a bit. So it'd be 80 for the whole year for online and expansion. I
for
mean,
the
although I guess if it's
family.
a family and if it's a few people, yes, it's not. But it depends. Like if it's like adults, yes. If you guys like split it, I guess not too bad. But if it's like family, as in like, oh, it's me and like all my kids that each have like their thing, like yeah, it's kind of expensive.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, like, up to now, I don't feel it's worth it because like they barely got like N64 on there. Like I think it would be
exactly.
worth it if they like added, like started adding GameCube and like a bit more. But yeah, if it's already at 80, like I hope they would add the next stuff and still keep it at 80. That's where it maybe starts to sound. But if it's like, oh, we're gonna add, GameCube and DS, but it's gonna be like $20 more. That's where it's like, ooh, man, $100 like a year for that. That's where it's like, nah, man, I don't know.
Well, honestly, with that whole like virtual, like, well, I call it virtual because it's almost like the virtual console. But bro, like honestly, that's why a lot of people I can tell why they were mad when like they switched this whole new format. Because like, bro, when you kind of like think about how you bought virtual console games, it was that every game had a reasonable price and you didn't have to freaking like you didn't have to like wait a huge long period of time for like new systems to keep popping up. It was like you knew like by like the next like
Yeah, and then
three
obviously, and
months,
then
the
obviously
new
you,
console would come
and then
out.
and then you choose what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Hmm.
here it's like I'm paying everything, and like, what if I don't like all the games? Like, it's too bad. You
It's
know what
like
I
too bad.
mean?
You just have to have them there. Like,
Like, I get what
okay.
they're going for because I feel like they're trying to copy the whole like Xbox Game Pass thing,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I still think like Game Pass does it better, especially because like the whole point of Game Pass is that like it even adds some games day one. That's what really makes it worth it.
Yeah. And then isn't like most of the Game Pass, like, I'm not saying they're not new games because some of them are old, but it's like most of the Game Pass games, like more recent games.
Yeah, that's what
Doesn't
I'm
Rare
saying. That's what I'm
2?
saying. Like
Yeah, exactly.
it has
Like,
like all sorts of stuff on there, and like it even adds like a bunch of like newer games. Like I said, like day one sometimes, or like you know what I
yeah,
mean.
because
So that
Nintendo,
makes
like,
it feel
they're,
worth it versus all these Nintendo games are just all of these are old at this point.
yeah,
You know
like,
what I
I'd rather
mean?
just buy, like, oh, Super Mario 64 for like 25.99 or 30 something. At least go
No,
around there.
do not get on my ideas. That is too expensive for that game.
Okay, $10.
I
Actually,
don't know.
$10.
Maybe it's a little more fair. But yeah, the point is don't give them ideas. The point is it should be like a nice price for each game, maybe. Or
Nintendo's
just
like,
or make it if you're gonna do like the whole Netflix of gaming thing, like Game Pass style, just make it more worth it, man. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's
yeah,
just
man.
the point is we'll have to see what Nintendo does, as always. But I just hope the next console is cool. I hope it makes it feel worth it. And I don't know. I always enjoy their games, so just
Yeah.
hoping that the next batch of games is cool, I guess is all I can say. But we'll have to wait and see because it does say second half of
hmm
2024, so we'll just have to wait to see if that sounds like it comes true, you know.
I hope so, bro. I hope so.
Yeah. All right, and that is it for our news for the week. We kind of spent some time on that last one, just kind of ranting a little bit here and there, but you know, it's because yeah, there's a lot to think about with some of this stuff because it's like, what's gonna happen? Is it gonna
hmm
happen? I don't know, but it is what it is. But there you go, guys. That is the news for the week. Go ahead and check out those news stories. And then, like I said, the Pokemon Presents. I will see if I can do my best to try to make like a reaction slash discussion. If
hmm
not, we'll probably talk about it next week for sure, you know.
hmm
With that out of the way though, jumping over the topic of the week, you know, finally, this is exciting because yes, you can rely on stuff like Game Pass. Yes, you can rely on stuff like Nintendo with their Nintendo Online, but
hmm
if there's something that I think is a saving grace to gaming and really helps with like archival and just being able to play whatever the hell you want, you know, it is emulation.
hmm
Emulation is saving grace. It is incredible. And what I want to talk about that I discovered this week that I think is very cool is a little project called EmuVR, as in like emulation virtual reality. And this is a really cool thing that I discovered because I saw someone talking about it on Reddit, and I'm like, no way. So I came to like download it, tried it out, and then I told you about it, and then you tried it
hmm
out. It's basically this really cool project that's still in the beta set. It's still beta too. So it's not even done yet, but it's like this like project that people are working on where basically there is like this, how do I describe it? There's this like program that when you start it up, you're in a bedroom, and the bedroom has, you know, shelves, and it has a bed, and it has a drawer, dresser with drawer, and it has like a door, and it has like a window you can look out of, you know, whatever. It's like you're literally in a bedroom, and the whole vibe is supposed to be like, oh, like if it was like back in like the 80s or 90s, like when you were a kid, and you get to spend time in this room just hanging out. And it's meant to be played in
hmm
VR. You don't have to play it in VR, though. That's the cool part. You can play it in desktop mode or VR. And where it gets really cool, okay, so you're in this room, and you get to feel like, you know, you're back in the 80s or 90s or whatever when you were a kid. You're hanging out in your bedroom, and it feels retro, right? But what do
hmm
you do in this room? Well, you get to set up TVs and consoles, and you get to, using RetroArch, emulate games on the TV that you then through VR like experience that. So it's really
Yeah.
cool. So like I don't have the VR quite yet. I actually did try to buy a Oculus Rift. I was able to find one really cheap on eBay. So, you know, one of these days it'll arrive and I'll be able to try this program out. I've just played desktop mode up to now, but it's so cool because like you're literally like, in your bedroom, and so you can open up your inventory and be like, cool, I'm gonna pull out this like huge 90s Panasonic and I'm gonna put it on my desk. And then for my inventory, it's based on what you have like on your, folders, obviously, when you're setting up the program. But let's say that you downloaded the emulator, using RetroArch for Super Nintendo, and you
Hmm.
have a ROM of, let's say, Super Mario World in the right folder, right?
Hmm.
So in the game, when you turn it on, okay, you have your TV. Turn on the TV. Just like the old school TVs, it has like the screen that says video. Okay, let me pull out my Super Nintendo. You pull it out of your inventory, put it right in front of the TV, using the controls, because every button does like a certain thing. You connect your Super Nintendo to your TV. You open your inventory. You pull out the cartridge that literally says Super Mario World, and if you like add the art, it has the art on it. You can see it.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
can see it. You can like move the cartridge in front of you. You can like rotate and everything. You stick it in the Super Nintendo. You press the button to turn on the Super Nintendo. You turn and look at the TV. You are now playing Super Mario World on the TV in the game. So you're playing a
Yeah,
game within a
in a
game.
game.
And like I said, I'm using just desktop mode, but if you have the VR headset, you're literally in the room experiencing that you're sitting in front of a TV playing Super Mario World. It's
Hmm.
really cool. It's like so cool.
It's
Like I
super
haven't tried
cool.
I haven't
Hmm.
tried the VR thing out yet, but just even using the desktop mode, it is so cool.
It
And
really
it's
is.
really
Yeah.
cool because it has support for all sorts of systems. It has, NES, SNES, GameCube, Wii, N64, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, a bunch of like those arcade games, Sega, all sorts of stuff. And it's really cool because some of the stuff is even modeled. So like you literally have like an N64 cartridge in front of you. You literally have a GameCube disc in front of you. You literally have the PlayStation 2 sitting on your desk to put the disc into. You know, unfortunately, like, they haven't modeled everything. That's why it's a work in progress. Like if you like summon a Wii, for instance, it'll just show like a generic system because they don't have like the Wii yet. Same thing with like some of the other systems and stuff. But it's really cool that some of the systems are modeled. Some of like the cartridges and stuff are modeled, and you can add
Hmm.
art. So you have the actual disc art or cartridge art, and you have the actual system in front of you modeled. It's like so cool. And then you can also listen to music. So you can literally like if you have like an MP3 and put it in the right folder, in the room, you literally pull out like a cassette tape and put in the cassette player and it'll play like your music. Or you can have like a VHS tapes. So if you
Oh
have
yeah,
like
I
a
did that.
yeah,
Hmm.
so if you have like a movie, like literally like a copy of a movie, or like even like a video that you like just have on your computer, you like an MP4 or something, you can put in the right folder, and then in game you have like a cassette tape, you put in the cassette player, I mean the VHS player, sorry, and then when you turn on the TV, it's playing your MP4. So it's
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm watching this movie or I'm watching this video, and it's on the TV. So it's really
Yeah, it's
cool,
super
guys.
cool. It's
There's
super
so
cool.
many details, but you can play games, you can listen to music, you can watch videos, you can decorate and customize the posters in your room. You can customize the room itself with like how the tile is, the flooring, the what do you call it? The
The value.
like the wallpaper, the bedding. You can change the
Hmm.
seasons. You can even add a thing where if you want to be like chill, where it's just like the normal game, or you can even add it so like later, supposedly there's going to be like jump scares and all sorts of like, environmental stuff that happens. Like I could go on forever. There's like so much you can do in this game. It is so cool. Like I cannot believe something like this exists. It is like the most awesomest thing ever. I would say like if you have a computer that you think can handle it, check it out. It is like the most awesome thing ever. And if you have VR, dude, like this is a really good program to like use
It
your
really
VR
is.
on. Like it is so cool. I really want my VR headset to arrive. I want to try it out. I hope it works. But even in desktop mode, it is like the coolest thing ever. I'm telling you.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know what else to say. It's just like this really cool project. I would say go download it, go support it. it is like a thing that fans are making. It's really cool. I don't even know what to say. It's just really cool. You have to experience it for yourself. But trust me, I really want people to check this out. It is one of the coolest things I've seen. And I really hope that they really do keep working on it and they really keep building on it because there's plans to like add more, systems and add more models so that you can like, like literally have like a Wii in front of you and like have like the Wii discs in front of you and have like all these like for every system you can think of. They want to add arcade cabinets. They want to add different environments so you can pretend like you're playing like literally at an arcade, or like supposedly they want to add a thing so you have like a home theater instead of using like a CRT TV or whatever. Like they have so much plans of supposedly things they want to do. I really hope this continues to grow because it is awesome.
It really is, man. That would be super cool to see how far this project goes.
Yeah, like it sounds awesome. And man, just the fact that it's like a fan made thing with these people, just like a passion project, it is so cool. And just like the way they were able to like integrate it. So like using RetroArch, you're playing a game like within a game in like a virtual environment. It's just like the coolest thing ever. And it looks so good. It's just like, oh man, it's like so
It
awesome.
really
Dude.
does, dude. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the bad thing is like there, of course, it'll depend on how good your computer is, obviously. Because that's what's processing the games. But if you have like a nice computer, like I'm saying, and you like have VR, this is probably one of those things that you like need to check out. I think it's like a must do. It's really cool. But yeah, I could gush about it forever. But there you have it. It's called EmuVR. You go check it out. It has its own website. It has its own instructions that walks you through how to install it and customize everything and add your own art and games and stuff. Very cool. But trust me, guys, it is a must see. It's a must play. Go check it out. If you have a computer that you think is anywhere able to process, unless it's a potato, I say go check this out. I think it's worth it. It is just so cool.
Yeah.
Yep. So there you have it, guys. Go check it out. It is awesome. And it's definitely a recommendation for me. 2 thumbs up.
I definitely recommend it too.
Yeah, there you have it. Alrighty, guys, and there you have it. So that is our podcast for the week. A lot of stuff that I think you guys should check out. A lot of stuff that I'm excited to see where it goes, see how these things develop, etc. But I think that was a pretty good podcast. I'm really excited. I don't know. I'm just having fun with a lot of stuff coming out and stuff that's like promised to come out. So I'm excited. Hopefully next week we'll be back, as usual. We'll try our best to be back next week. We'll try our best to have more exciting stories and stuff we've checked out to recommend. But until next time, everybody take care of yourselves and we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, have a good one.